Hey members, how's it going? Just doing another members only video before I go on vacation. You may have noticed the frequency of videos kind of getting less. I still try to do one a week. That's because I've been working for a couple of other YouTube channels now doing video editing, but also helping this TV station in Montreal with their live streams. So it's been a busy month. I still try to do, at least one a week. This week I did two because we're going on break. I'll be gone until January 5th, but I thought to do December's members only video. You will see that we will switch between live streams and videos basically. I'll try to do more videos because live streams, there's only 4 of you, so it's very unlikely that anybody will join. Last month we did a live stream because I was looking at Will's questions, and today I'm looking at Edward's question. I took a vote recently, which all of you participated in, for kind of what types of tutorial to cover. And Edward said that his vote is for more info on customizing the look, layout, and whatever else can be customized in Reaper. So I thought to make the subject of today's video that. I have done a bunch of videos on this topic, and I will put them in the description, maybe add a few cards here and there. But, the short answer is, well, everything can be customized in Reaper in terms of looks. So kind of the most significant way of changing the looks in Reaper is obviously using a theme. So if you go to options and you go to themes, I have very few themes available here because I don't really like themes, to be honest with you. They don't really add functionality, and some of them take away functionality. So for example, in this Pro Tools theme, as an example, and I've seen this in all other themes that I've seen, when you solo a track, well, the track gets soloed. However, when you are in the default theme, and I think this is what I use, when you solo a track, you also get this little icon. And this little icon shows me what tracks are muted as a result of this track being soloed. And for example, we can see that these 2 tracks aren't showing that sign. And the reason for that is that they are return tracks. They are receiving signal from this track. So when you solo this track, they don't get soloed. And if I make new tracks, you can see all of them have this icon. So that's just a very small kind of change. But basically, every theme may have some missing features. And I just also think the Reaper's default theme looks really good. But obviously, if you want to work with themes and stuff, there's tons of, cool themes to choose from. This one looks like Logic Pro. Yeah, to me, they never look super perfect. So yeah, not the biggest expert on themes. There is a video by Mike from Let's Talk About Reaper, which is called Fantastic Reaper Themes and Where to Find Them. So that would be some place to start if you're interested in finding some new themes. But there's a ton also about the default Reaper theme that you can play with. So you can, first of all, go to Options, Themes, and Theme Adjuster. Here you can make some macro changes to all your tracks. So I have a few track types. So if I make a new track, I can right-click on it. I can go to Track Layout. And for example, on the track panel, I have my A, which is just a very basic one. I don't really use it, to be honest. I use it when I have a track that is basically not going to have audio on it. So if a track's going to have image on it, or if a track is just a video track, I don't really need like a pan and a big fader for it or anything like that. And I can come and I can make some modifications to this. So for example, I can increase the name size. And so if this track is called Video Clip Part 1, 2021, 12, 16, something like that, something nice and big. I can make the name size. Well, this is, I guess, the maximum name size is 170. But my other track, whoops, I'm actually modifying the wrong thing. This is the track layout A, I'm sorry, is the name size. And then, we don't need a meter on this track. I don't really need to record arm it, so that one is always hidden. Same thing with monitoring. I can just say always hide that. Track name, we want to see. Volume, whatever, we can also hide that if we want. And then again, I'm not going to route stuff to this. I don't need to see insert effects. I may still want envelopes because on a video or an image file, you can still do automation with the video processor. I don't need the pan and width. I don't need the record mode. You get the basic picture. My second layout is, well, B. And B is the one that you see most often on most of my tracks. That's my default kind of layout, which if I expand it, we'll see that my sends and hardware outputs and effects also come here. And I have my input effects, I have my regular effects. And if I make it small, I still see these bare essentials. If I make it bigger, I see everything else. And on this layout, you can see that nothing is basically hidden. The name size is 80, kind of a midway. The meter size is 40. If you increase this, you get like a bigger meter. 40 is fine for me. Same thing with the volume, so I can make my fader bigger if I want. But again, 70 is pretty good. Same thing with meter location. I like to keep mine on the right, but you can also have stuff like left if armed. So if I arm it, it'll go here. And if I unarm it, it'll go back there. It's kind of fancy. But yeah, right is fine for me. Input size, that's that one. And you can right click on this and do whatever you want. But I like to keep this small because I can also right click on the record arm and do all that stuff. And then sends list, that can be on or off. So if I turn it off, we get a little bit of extra space here, but I like to see my sends. So as you can see on these tracks that have sends, I can just come here and give it a little extra without having to kind of open this routing window and do the same thing. So that's that. If this is off, there's another setting here which, yeah, show sends when size permits. So in this mode, you can see that I just see my plugins and I see my sends all in the same spot, which is kind of cool. If I have this on, I'll just see a duplicate of this. But I like the duplicate because right now, obviously, we only have one plugin on this track. But if I start to kind of add more and more plugins to my track, eventually I will stop seeing the sends. So I like to have both of those available. And I can always kind of zoom out and just hide those. And I can also just minimize it this way. So this is what I do. And finally, let's look at my track C layout. And my track C layout is basically for recording. So it's a big vertical meter. I messed with something here. I think I changed the name size. So if I call this recording, yeah, I don't need to see this too big. So this is just kind of for a track that I'm only going to record to. So I wanted to see a big meter. I think you can even make it like ginormous, just basically see your meter. But 160 is still a really good sized meter. Like I can see the numbers and I can see my track, how it is. So how to actually toggle these, for example, if I double click to create a new track, my B layout is the default. And as you can see, this is right now on the default mode. But for example, if I go to my track templates and I run my audio record track, my audio record track already has this C layout selected for it. So if you want to make something like that, like I can just create a new track and go to the track layout and choose C. And now if I right click and save this as a track template, the next time I run it, it will already be in layout C. So that's how I use that. And then you have a separate section for the mixer panel, which I've honestly not customized for myself because I'm fine with the way it looks already. It shows me everything that I need to see. But yeah, here you have some extra kind of customization options as well. And when you hover your mouse over any of these things, it does give you a pretty decent explanation of what they do, which is unusual for Reaper because Reaper usually doesn't really bother to tell you like what's going on with a new feature. It just lets you figure it out. But in this case, it's actually pretty robust. I can have show effects parameters. And then if I, for example, put a Pro Q here, maybe choose a parameter like this one, I can say show and track controls, and that'll show up here as well. And then icons, I don't really play with icons, but that's another kind of big area where you can customize your stuff. And here you can also set a bunch of custom colors, kind of set an overall color palette for your tracks, items, whatever it is that you color, regions, and so on. Again, this is not something I do. And the same thing with envelopes. So if I, for example, open my envelope, I can kind of increase or decrease its size. My fader size is to a knob, but you can make any automation parameter also a fader if you wish. And I can change the size of this as well. Maybe something like this. And same thing with your transport bar, right? So on the transport bar, we have a play rate. We can turn that into a fader. Maybe a cool idea for like DJs. And here you have some extra controls like centering the transport, etc. These are here for convenient, but of course you can also right click and find all the same stuff. And then there are some global settings. So like overall kind of color control. If you want kind of a slightly darker Reaper overall, you can play with that. The default you can always double click to go back to. Actually, I can go for a slightly darker tone than the default. Play with this for a little bit and see how I feel. I never kind of really touch these. And then this is for the rest. So you're increasing this one will make your text really bright. Increasing this one will make kind of your color backgrounds and foregrounds really bright or darker if you want. And this one is all the like kind of background elements. So, you know, if you have kind of trouble reading stuff, maybe you can give this a little extra boost. It'll make these a little more shiny, kind of makes them poke through a little better, easier to see kind of from far away. And of course, you can have like an overall kind of saturation amount. So if I, let's color these a little bit. Also my meters, my record arm, everything kind of gets more saturated, which is again, something I don't really like. And you can give everything a hue as well, which again is kind of weird, right? Your record arm becomes blue. Even the color of my icons and stuff changes. So this is pretty crazy if you want to add a tint to this, but it's there in case you want to have it. Yeah, so that's the theme adjuster, and that's how you kind of modify the theme more or less. I'm already like not super in love with the changes that I made. Again, I'm really just used to how things are by default. I think I'm actually happy with it being, yeah, the default. It's a little bit like pale and bland, but it's okay. You also have the theme tweaker. You have a few, but this one is the one that comes with Reaper, and you can run it. And this one is more kind of in line with how things are in Reaper, in that it doesn't really exactly fully tell you what's going on. And if it's your first time kind of using this, it's best to just go to save theme, and you can save a copy of your theme as I have right here. So my default 6 is still there in case I ever need to change to the defaults, in case anything I do goes too crazy, and then I won't have to kind of come back and find what I changed. So it's always good to have a default. So you can just save this, and I'm going to save this again and call it Edward so that I can make some changes and then just throw it away. For example, you can change the background of stuff. So this is the background of everything kind of outside your arrange window. You can make this a lot darker. I like to kind of keep it more or less as gray as my items and everything. Same thing for text. I can make my text like a lot brighter. And again, like in this case, nothing really changed color. It's supposed to change the color of the main window / transport text, but I still see it kind of the same way. And same thing here, you can give it some shadow. Again, I don't actually feel anything changing here. So this could also be that the default theme doesn't have these colors, because this theme tweaker works with other themes as well, but it always depends on what the creator of the theme has made kind of available for you. Let's see, main window 3D highlight. I don't really know what most of these are. Okay, so there's like a highlight kind of on some stuff, and we can give this kind of a nice, maybe festive color. Not really festive, maybe something like this. Get a little purple going here. Sometimes it can look really kind of ridiculous as well. I ain't gonna lie to you. You can change the color to be something obvious so you can kind of see what's going on. So this is kind of the upper left of stuff. So your upper left and lower left can have different colors. Some of them are purely, you know, kind of cosmetic changes. This is the toolbar button text, which when I changed it, it changes right here on toolbar icons that don't have a picture icon. So I can maybe make all of them like kind of yellow or whatever. Toolbar button enabled, that one would be like if I press it, it'll be red. But I like the default how it was. And you just kind of go through this like that. There's lots and lots of stuff that you can change. And some for better, some for worse. Some of the ones that are actually really useful to kind of play with is, for example, ruler stuff. So if I open my MIDI editor, I have my ruler text kind of at a good color, just a really bright white so I can see it. And mediator ruler background, again, you can make that like a lot darker if you want. Also, grid stuff is pretty useful, so I can make my grids really bright. That's for like window lists and stuff like that. So you can see right here, they all got kind of really white. So maybe let's make those like full on black. Empty arrange view area, again, I can make this thing happen, which is pretty cool. Like it gives you some extra separation between your grid lines. So if I'm like zoomed to the measure level, you can see every half measure kind of shaded differently. Zoom out a little more. Now every measure is shaded differently. It's kind of a cool thing to maybe have a play with. I don't know why every time I click on it, it opens again. You can give a different color to your like start of measure grid lines. So you get a little extra kind of indication where is the beginning of your measure. I'm not a good color expert, but maybe just a tad less bright. And you can also kind of add to the thickness of stuff. You can also use these kind of overlay modes and things like that. And when you do that, the CPU usage will be higher. But that means that if I go and kind of change the shade of these grids, those colors will automatically kind of take on that shade. Maybe just slightly more gray. Something like this. So this is one thing that I haven't done a tutorial on, and I will, but you know, it's a really kind of big topic. So same thing for here, like start of measure grid lines on my MIDI editor. I can make them kind of slightly kind of yellow or something just to give them real big, easy distinction. And then start of beats, I can have a different color, maybe just a slightly kind of more gray color or something like that. And then between beats, I can maybe have it be kind of the darkest of all, maybe the blackest. This one is like really thin right now for me, so I can also come and maybe make this like a little thicker. Actually, I like that. I like making all of them like a lot thicker so I can see them better, right? And when you zoom out, it gets a little kind of cluttered, but we can really kind of easily see these are the starts of our measure. These are the starts of beats, and then all the 16ths and everything else is that color. Another useful set of stuff is like background stuff, right? So media item background for selected tracks when they're odd and even. This one's a useful one. So for example, I can make my even tracks a little darker in the timeline. Which for some, oh, this is the media item background, sorry. I want timeline background. Yeah, as you can see, I'm not an expert myself here. But, I mean, we can even go odd. Media item background, track background. Maybe that's the one. But this is doing the wrong thing right now, which is very strange to me. It's not changing the colors up and down. It's not changing the odd and even numbered tracks. It's just changing the grid lines. So I don't know. Is this wrong? Is this weird? I don't exactly know. And this is what you kind of will find with this theme tweaker business. It's like not everything works, honestly. It's something that they need to kind of put more time in, and they will. But overall, like, you know, Justin's not a fan of really kind of cosmetic changes most of the time. But it is a good, useful cosmetic change because some people are kind of, you know, maybe visually impaired or something. So I can make like my selected tracks timeline be really bright if that kind of helps me in some way. These are some of the things you can do with your theme tweaker. Yeah, there's lots of stuff here. Same thing with like, yeah, a razor area, like a razor edit fill. If you do something like that. I actually have changed my razor edit commands. Yeah. So razor edit fill right now is kind of this like shade of green, but you can make it like really orange or something if you want. Same thing with the outline. Maybe let's make the outline super red. Now it looks like this. Could be more visible. Same thing with the edit cursor, for example. So if we go to cursor, oh, this is weird. Like the edit cursor doesn't have a thickness. That could be useful, but I can make my edit cursor like red or make it maybe nice and purple or something. It's cool. Something you can do. So those are kind of like the macro changes to the looks of stuff. And I mean, right now I did a pretty terrible job. This is not really doing it for me, but yeah, I think it's really useful for people who are visually impaired, colorblind in some way, that they may find that playing with the contrast of the stuff will really help them. But yeah, since I saved that as default 6 Edward, I can always just quickly switch to how I had stuff before, which is useful. Then the next thing that you can kind of really customize the hell out of is screen sets. So if I hit Command and E, I can come here to my Windows section of screen sets, and I have a lot of different screen sets based on what it is that I do. So if I load my first screen set, that's this layout, my kind of main one that just looks like any other DAW. I have my mixer right here and some tracks. I have my timeline pretty big. I have my automation toolbar showing right here. If I go to, for example, my tutorial editing screen set, it'll looks like this. Because when I edit my tutorials, I want to see the video. I do a lot of automation, so I keep that there. And I have an extra toolbar for video-based actions, and I put that up here. And then my kind of actions and resources and everything that I use when I edit my tutorials goes up there. Master track goes up here. And if I go to my video editing, that's different from the tutorial editing. This one's small because I haven't updated this since I switched to a 2K monitor. This is for when I am editing sound to a video. So in that case, I still want to see a pretty big timeline, but I want to see my video kind of front and center. These are all my single monitor layouts. So for example, in this case, I updated it. Now I can just save it. I have one for scripting. So the scripting one is pretty small because usually I would be kind of reading from a manual or something. It just takes up kind of half of my screen, and the actual IDE environment I can put up here. I have a mixer half page. So this one, like the mixer takes most of the page. I have some, I have my snapshots here. So if I'm only mixing, I get to see kind of this view. So the way to make your own kind of screen sets and stuff is totally up to you what you want to see. But basically you set up your kind of view however you want, and then you just save it. So in order to demonstrate this to you, I'm going to just kind of modify this a little bit. I'm not going to save it. So in order to show this to you, I think I will use this one. I can always remake this one, but yeah. So let's say we got something like this, just a pretty blank kind of Reaper setup. And if I open my mixer, it shows up there. But let's say I open my mixer and it showed up over here. So I can right click on it and go dock mixer in Docker. It'll go here. I can click on its label and I can move it anywhere. Like I can move it to the bottom of my screen. I can snap it to the left of my screen or something if I want. So let's keep it on the bottom. I want to close all of these. In fact, I'm not going to close them. I'm just going to pop them out. And bear with me for a second here. So this is, for example, something that always kind of bothered me about Reaper is that by default, if you open the action list, it just pops up here. By default, if I go to any track and click on the effects icon, the effects browser just kind of shows up somewhere. It just kind of blocks my view. It clutters up my page. Now I got to move this down if I want to do an action. I got to constantly be like kind of moving stuff around and resizing them. But if we do it once, we never have to do it again, which is cool. So again, I can right click on here and go dock. Again, mine by default snaps here because it remembers, but in yours, it may dock right under here. So if you're okay with that, you can just leave it there. Or I can again drag the label anywhere and put it there. Or another thing I can do is hold command. So when you hold command, you get some extra options here. So as you can see, I can put my effects browser just kind of on the left hand of the screen, or by holding command, I can make it like this. So it's just kind of on the side of the mixer at the same level. Or I can maybe just keep it kind of right here. Or maybe actually here would be a good place to put it so that when you make kind of like a bunch of tracks, you have a bunch of tracks showing, you see your mixer and you see your effects browser here. So I can just kind of drag an effect from here to here and put it over there. Same thing with my action list. Like when I open it, I don't want it to just pop up somewhere random. So again, I can have that on a total separate window as my FX browser if I hold command, or I can just drag it here. It'll be a tab next to my FX browser. So I can quickly switch between these tabs. And then whatever other window you use, you can come up here to view your media or your routing matrix. I don't really use it, so I'm okay with that. Maybe the media explorer. Again, I don't want this to kind of just pop up somewhere random. So I can put it here, or I can even put it like up here if I want, right? That's a good place to put stuff. One of the best things to put there, maybe, especially if you come from Ableton or something, is the navigator. So the navigator, I can also dock, and let's dock it up here. And let's even get rid of Media Explorer. And I can make this real thin. But basically, I can kind of navigate through my project up and down this way. And if I want, I can also just use my same zoom hotkeys to kind of zoom into this if I want. Just kind of find the things that I'm looking for on a big project. So just keep the navigator there, whatever. You know, if there are any toolbars you want to open or something, I can right click here, go open toolbar. Let's open my automation types toolbar. It goes there, but again, I can hold command and pop it over here, or I can even pop it on the side here and then resize this. So now I have my mixer here. I have my effects browser here, which I can make a little bigger maybe. And I can just do my automation on the mixer side. I have my effects browser here. And every other window that you have, you can do the same with. So my track manager again popped up kind of in the middle of nowhere. I can put it over here and it will be there. And I can now save this. So I can just save this, give it a name, mixer bottom, something like that. And another thing you can do is, like, let's say with these three things, the FX browser, actions, and track manager. Let's say by default, I don't want to see them. I want to see my full mixer. I want to just kind of be able to, and sorry, I was loading a track template, but I forgot that my hard drive crashed, so I can't actually do what I was planning to do. So yeah, so by default, you can have your mixer just kind of showing the tracks that you're on. So I can one more time go to the mixer bottom and save this. And here, just keep all the boxes ticked, basically. I don't do the last focus thing just because I don't know where I last focused. And I can hit save. So now, let's say I'm in my main editing. I can always just quickly load this mixer bottom layout. And you can give it a hotkey as well. So I can use Shift F7 to go to my main. And now if I hit Shift F12, I'll go to my mixer bottom. And as you can see, we don't see our FX browser now. But if I do hit Shift and F to open it, it'll remember where it's opened and it will open it in the same spot. So my action list, my FX browser, all that stuff is here, but not showing by default. So if I go to Shift F7 and come back here, they're not here. But if I hit the hotkey, they will be there. So in my main editing, I have my mixer kind of showing here with one of the tracks. If I click on any of the tracks here, it'll navigate to that track. So overhead, kit, snare plate, this random track. But if I, for example, open my action list, you can see that it's docked over here on the side. My FX browser is on the side here. My Media Explorer is on the side here. My routing matrix, my SWS snapshots, everything just opens here by default. So I don't get this like kind of cluttering of everything. So to me, the most useful customization are these screen sets. Unfortunately, you only have 10 of these and you can't have more. And I kind of needed more, which is why I now have 2 Reaper installs, one for when I edit videos and one for when I make music or do other stuff. So I can delete some of these because I have copies of them in my video editing. Like, for example, this tutorial editing I no longer need here. So I can clear this also and just make a new one if I ever need it. I have this one for MIDI editor drawing. And again, if you see that these ones are really small, it's because I haven't used them since I transitioned to a 2K monitor. But it opens up by default, it's like this. But if I double click on any of the MIDI items, it'll open up here and my video pops up on the side here. So this is definitely the most useful form of customization because all your windows and everything you do, you can kind of organize them once and have them however you want them. And then you just move them around. You just do whatever you want with them. The way that I have my top toolbar here is by right-clicking, going position toolbar, and then going at top of main window. You can't actually manually drag this to go above your transport bar. Like if I drag this up, I can put it up there, but it really goes over here. But I can also kind of make this small, and now I have kind of 2 rows of toolbars if I need, and again, go position toolbar and close it. So what else can be customized in Reaper? Well, all your menus and toolbars, that stuff could also be customized. And I've talked about this in a lot of detail before, so I won't do that now because I think already this is a pretty long video. I'm trying not to do a lot of editing because I have to still pack, and I still have one more student, and I have to also, I'm flying tomorrow, so got lots to do. So yeah, that was some stuff. For toolbars, again, I'll put links to videos that I've done in the past. I really just gave you a brief tour, but there's lots more to be customized. So go watch those videos if you want more detail on any of these, like screen sets and advanced kind of docking techniques and stuff like that. And for my toolbars, I'll send you a couple of videos as well. If anything from my setup, if you see anything you like, if you like my screen sets or if you like my toolbars, if you want these things, let me know and I can send you a configuration. That said, I really encourage you to just do this stuff for your own workflow. So based on whatever your needs are. Because if I give you mine, it may be a good kind of way to inspire you, and there may be some useful stuff in there. But really, the most useful way to kind of get benefit of all the things you can customize in Reaper is to do it your own way, with your own workflow, whether it's music or film or video editing or whatever it is. Yeah, so that's it for today, I guess. Thank you all for being my members. We quickly kind of rose to 4, and now we're kind of stuck at 4. Really, I'm just mind blown that anybody is donating to me monthly because, there's Netflix and all of those things. I really appreciate your support. This is what really, sometimes I think about quitting and then I'm like, well, I have members now. I can't disappoint them. So thank you for keeping me going. I guess if you want to kind of help the channel further, maybe sharing some of my videos would really help me, because it's really annoying to other people when I constantly kind of share my own stuff. One of the ways that kind of Kenny and John Tidy grow is that other people share their stuff. So if you want to help me kind of further, that would be something I would really appreciate, but of course, no obligation. Take care of yourselves. Keep your questions coming whenever you comment under any video or any of the community posts or whatever. If I see a member has asked a question, I will definitely answer it. Will I answer all comments? But I will make videos for you. I did a challenge on the previous members only video. Nobody watched it, or nobody did the challenge. So I don't know. Let me know if stuff like that is stuff you're into, and I'll do more of them. Otherwise, I'm just kind of doing these based on what you want from me. So feel free to give me your input. Take care of yourselves. See you in the new year. Bye-bye.